Good morning, Honors Algebra 1. It is Monday, April 13th, and we're starting our third week of online learning. So today we're going to talk about section 11.4, irrational square roots. Now, in our last lesson, we talked about rational square roots. That means a square root that can be simplified to a rational number. And a rational number is any number that can be written as a quotient of two integers, a quotient of two integers. Now, the square root of 16 can be written as 4 because 16 is a perfect square. And 4 is a rational, the square root of 16 has a rational square root because 4 is a rational number. It can be written as 4 over 1 or 8 over 2 or 16 over 4. Okay, it can be written as a quotient of two integers. So this is a rational square root. Okay, rational square root. How about the square root of 12? Well, 12 is not a perfect square, so I can't write that as a rational number. But what I can do is simplify it, and there is a simple rule for simplifying a square root. So what I want to do is I want to think of what factors of 12 are perfect squares. I'm going to find the perfect square factors of 12, and there's only one, 4. 4 is a perfect square too. So I'm going to take the square root of 12 and rewrite it as 4 times 3. I want to create a factor, if possible, that is a perfect square. Remember, the perfect squares are 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, and so on. Now, can I simplify the square root of 4 times 3? Well, of course I can. That's going to be written as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. We learned that we could break it up into two separate square roots last time. So the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Whoa, I can simplify that. The square root of 4 is 2. And so I have 2 root 3. I should have put my equal signs. 2 root 3. Now I have simplified the square root of 12 to 2 times the square root of 3. This is still an irrational number. I've got a rational number multiplied by an irrational number. The product is irrational. However, it has been simplified. I've taken the perfect square and brought it outside of the radical to root 3 instead of root 12. Now, how about the root of 75? Can I simplify that? Does 75 have a perfect square factor? I bet you've already thought of it. It is 25. So I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of 25 times 3, which is the root of 25 times the root of 3, which is 5 root 3. Okay. Now, you do not have to write this third step here. You don't have to split it up into 2. If you want to, that's great. But if you want to skip one step, which I know some of you do, you can skip this one. You can go simply from root 25 times 3 to 5 root 3. And now 3, there's no way to simplify that. That has no perfect square factors, so I'm done. Now, those were pretty easy. What if we get to something like this? The square root, that should be over a little bit. The square root of 891. Well, I don't know what the perfect square factors of 891 are. So now I'm going to use prime factorization as a tool to help me find some perfect square factors of 891, if there are any. So let's see if it can be simplified at all. So I'm going to take 891 and I'm going to do the prime factorization. We learned this back in 7th grade, and you wondered why not to know this? Well, this is a good tool. Right now we're going to have this has its purpose. Okay, now let's remember rules for divisibility. 8 plus 1 is 9, 9 plus 9 is 18. 3 goes into 18, so 3 will go into 891. So let's divide 3 into 891. 3 goes into 8 2 times. With 2 left over, 3 goes into 29 9 times. With 2 left over, 3 goes into 21 7 times. And I'm going to divide again. Oh my word, these numbers. 297. Well, 9 plus 2 is 11 plus 7 is 18. 3 will go into it again. 3 goes into 29 9 times. With 2 left over, 3 goes into 27 9 times. And now I have, let's do 11 as a prime number. 11 times 9. Now I'm going to stop right there. Okay, you're saying, Mrs. Gill, that's not prime. That's okay. Our goal here is to find perfect squares. And I see some. So I'm going to now rewrite this as, well, what is 3 times 3? It's 9, okay? So I've got a 9 times, I'll just do that 9 times 11. Okay. Now you can think of this two ways. This is 81, isn't it? So the square root of 81 is 9. Okay, so I could bring that out. Or you could even simplify it as the root of 9 times the root of 9 times the root of 11. And that's going to be 3 times root 11, or 9 root 11. And so I have simplified the root of 891. So you could combine that and say that is 81 times 11, and the root of 81 is 9. Or you can leave it as 9 times 9, and the root of 9 and root of 9 are 3 times 3. There's more than one way to do this, so either way is fine. Okay, now let's move over to 2 times the square root of 112. Well, 112 is not a huge number, but I don't off the top of my head know what the prime factors are of, not the prime factors, but the any perfect square factors of 112. So my goal is to find perfect squares. So I'm going to use prime factorization again. I have 112. Let's divide 2 into it. 2 goes into 11. 5 times with 1 left over, I get a 56. Let's do 2 again, and I've got a 2, and I've got an 8, and I've got a 2 and a 14, and I've got a 2 and a 7. Okay, wow, I see a perfect square here. Do you? It is 16. So I'm going to write 16 times 7 as my radicand. I'm rewriting 112 as 16 times 7. Well, the square root of 16 can be multiplied by the square root of 7 separately. And so this 2 in the front is still, it's going to hang out. It's part of the answer, so don't ignore it. Okay, you'll be in trouble if you ignore it. You're going to leave the 2 there. The square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 7 will stick on the end. Now, I'm going to take that 2, multiply it by 4, and I end up with 8 root 7. And that is my final answer. Okay, I rewrote 112 as 16 times 7. All righty. There's one more thing that you're going to have to do for homework, and that is to find the square root of a number by using your calculator. Wow. So the hardest thing on these you're going to have to do, let me step over here so I'm not out of the screen, is to round it to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so just be careful. This is a good exercise in rounding because you know how to enter square roots. Now this is an irrational answer. It's irrational, but we're going to round it because, and they're going to tell you, sometimes the homework says the nearest tenth. Sometimes it says the nearest hundredth. So be careful. You want to get the correct answer here. And it's 26.15 when you enter it in your calculator and round to 2 decimal places, which is the nearest hundredth. That's what that is. Okay. That's it. You have your homework is in LMS. You have a self-test tonight and some mixed review. And we will have a quiz tomorrow. We will have a quiz tomorrow, and I believe it's on 11.1 to 11.3, but it is open book, and y'all seem to be doing well with that. Open book and open note. So that's it, open book, open note. So you may want to be taking notes on these instructional videos. Be a very wise decision on your part. I will see some of you at 11 o'clock for our Zoom meeting if you need help simplifying these irrational square roots. And otherwise, I'll be back with you again on Tuesday morning. So I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you had a blessed Easter weekend. Wasn't it nice to not have school on Friday? What a nice little break. We've all been working hard. All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.